Hello and welcome to Bristol Health Cares. I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. I am the president and CEO of Bristol Health. This program is for you. It's really about how you navigate the system of care, how you access care, and it's really about trying to answer questions you may have and really didn't know who to ask. We are going to bring to you professionals, doctors, surgeons, other healthcare professionals throughout our system of care, maybe people that you've never talked to before or met before, but the goal is to really help you understand how to access care when you need it. You're going to enjoy this program. This program is really for you. So what's important is if there is something that you want to learn about or know about or a guest that you'd like me to host on this show, write us and we'll try to make that happen for you. So enjoy the program, Bristol Health Cares. Hello and welcome to this episode of Bristol Health Cares. I'm Kurt Barwis, your host. Today we're going to talk about public safety. We're going to talk about a community that I live in, one where Bristol Hospital resides in and has been for over 100 years. And to have this conversation, we have Police Chief Morello with us. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for
having
me. How are you doing? I'm doing very well, thank you.
And just a little bit, so for you, this is it's like a year now? How long has it been? Over a year?
Yeah, it's been about a year.
It's been about a year?
And it's been a great transition and really enjoying the position. So
That's awesome. You're doing a great job. I can tell you that.
I appreciate that.
So let's talk a little bit first about your background. Like, how did you end up in this incredible role?
Sure. So it goes back nearly 24 years. I'll have 25 years in the next few months serving the community of Bristol as a Bristol police officer. My background's, I have a bachelor's in public administration from Eastern Connecticut State University. I got my master's from UVA and in public safety. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy. And, I applied like many others did many years ago to as many departments as you could, because it was such a competitive market back then. You could have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 applicants for one or two roles. And I was fortunate enough to be hired by Bristol, and really I haven't looked back. So
did you live in Bristol before that? Or?
I didn't. So I've always lived in Connecticut my entire life. I'm the son of immigrant parents, and it's always been very source of pride for me to have done as much as I did and impacted the community in such a positive way. To kind of make up for my parents' struggles when they came over, in their early teens and made a life for myself and our family. So.
Well, we're really fortunate to have you. I happen to live in Bristol in the community, and just in the almost 19 years I've been there, what I've seen and what I feel, in terms of public safety is incredible. It's just a great community. So talk a little bit about how, in your role, your agenda, where is your focus going to be, and has it been, and how about these incredible programs that we have in Bristol?
Yeah, we have, first and foremost, a great community. It's very supportive. Nationally, there's different temperatures for different agencies, but I think it's a real testament to the men and women of the Bristol Police Department, the amount of support that we get in our community. And one of my goals is really to listen to the community and see what direction the community wants the department to go. And there's been a lot of different initiatives that encompass so many topics, from opioid abuse to mental health and wellness to traffic offenses, and that's really a hot topic for us right now. So I'm trying to incorporate technology to help steer the ship a little bit, if you would. One of our current newest programs is Axon My 90, and that's a community-based feedback survey. So very, very similar to what you would get from any other your big retailers. Once you have an experience, such as for us, it would be a post contact. So you call the police for some service. and several days later, or maybe several hours later, you'll get a text message asking for your feedback. You click the link, and it'll cover a very short link. We don't want to take up too much time, but about 10 questions asking, how was the service? Were you happy? Did you get the questions you wanted answered? And more importantly, where do you see the community having issues, and how can we as a police department best address those? And so based on that feedback, the majority of it was traffic offenses. People are upset with the way people are driving, and violations that are occurring. And obviously, you could see it on a state level, not only that there's an increase in that, but there's also the fatalities and the pedestrian accidents that we're seeing almost on a daily basis on the news throughout the state. So that's something we're really focused on.
Yeah, I don't think you have to, if you drive, you've encountered aggressive behavior. I mean, I travel a lot, and it's dumbfounding when you're driving on the expressway and somebody goes past you at 100 miles an hour and just about takes your bumper off. And I'm not sure how we got here, but I think it's really important that's something that we focus on. I noticed there's a lot of when you read the Current, they've really done a good job of highlighting all these people that they don't chase them, but they go to their house and they get them and they lock them up for these behaviors. So I think hopefully that serves as a deterrent, so people realize that the enforcement is there. But in Bristol, I heard a rumor that they might be doing these cameras. Is that a reality, do you think?
So that is something that we are looking at, because again, we're trying to respond to the community demand. The reality is, there is a high level of traffic offenses that are occurring in Bristol, and the police can't be everywhere every time. So using technology is a supplement to the manpower. It's a consideration. The legislators passed recent law, effective last year, that would allow municipalities to incorporate this new technology. They're commonly known as speed cameras or red light cameras, right? And the technology will take a photo or a video of the offense and issue a summons or a citation to the offending registered owner of the vehicle. But we're not committed to it. Really, it's something that we're in the exploration phase right now. So we're getting other feedback, but it doesn't cost the city anything. Revenue from that would actually go to support traffic safety initiatives, better crosswalks, better road engineering, updating our infrastructure for red lights and traffic boxes which control the lights. That's another common area where we see public concern. Hey, I'm stuck at this red light. It looks like it's not working. It's in part because some of our infrastructure is getting old and outdated, and we need to have it replaced.
Seems very reasonable to me. I know my son went to school at Maryland, and they have the traffic cameras down there now. So, and because the car was in my name, I got all those tickets, and there were many of them. But there it was, you had the citation and it was a fine. There were no points or anything associated with it. Would this include points and the normal stuff, or would it just be a fine?
No, so it would be very similar to what you just described. It's a city ordinance violation ultimately. So there would be no points assessed, but you would be fined as a registered owner of the vehicle. And a common complaint is, well, I may not have been the one driving it, but it's your car and you're ultimately responsible for it. And if you don't trust the person driving the vehicle, then maybe you shouldn't lend them the keys, right?
Well, that was my chief complaint. It's like, so I would say, my wife would say, well, don't pay it. And I say, well, if I don't pay it and I'm driving down there and I get pulled over and I've got all these outstanding, it's in our name. So, you don't have a choice. But I think it actually ultimately started to work for him.
I think it does. And it's definitely a deterrent. I mean, it's not a gotcha, right? Because the state law requires that the intersections or roads post that there's a camera up ahead. They're not hidden. You're put on notice, and certainly all the navigation apps let you know that they're coming up. So it's not a surprise. And And really, we're looking at modifying and change the behavior. We're not looking for this as a source of revenue. We just don't want people to go through the red lights or speed through a school zone. Ultimately, it's public safety that's paramount for us.
I totally agree with you. And as you also said, it would help update the infrastructure that we have to improve it, which is always a positive thing.
Yeah, certainly.
So you had mentioned the opioid kind of crisis, and we have this COBRA program, and I was talking to my team the other day, and we've kind of expanded that. So it's not just someone who comes in contact with a police officer for potential an offense or something like that, and has the option of opting into a recovery program. We've actually expanded it throughout different locations in the city. I think Wheeler Clinic is one of those that can actually opt people into the COBRA program. How do you think that program is working for us?
I think the program is working well. I think the more you could expand that footprint and provide different outlets for individuals, it's just going to have a positive impact overall. We're dealing with a combination of the opioid crisis. We have partnering with that is homelessness and mental health issues too. So one of the things that we did at the Bristol Police Department was create a community wellness officer position. And what that is really focused on doing is conducting outreach to the most needy in our city, right? People going through mental health crisis, people who might be suffering from opioid addiction or other addictions. Their primary focus is to respond, whether it's respond to a call for service or initiate, right? They may recognize a homeless encampment, go out and conduct outreach with our partners, either through Bristol Health or other community organizations, and get that help for them. And whether it's an addiction issue or mental health issue or homeless issue, it's a really innovative idea, and it's been very successful. We started a program probably about 6 months ago, and we've had over 800 calls or contacts for service. And our focus really is to get help to those who need it. So there's been times where, quite frequently, we'll get calls for mental health crisis to the police department, and we'll respond out there. Prior to this program, you could have a patrol officer respond on one day, and then the following day, that same person who's still in crisis is getting another police officer. And so they're getting two different experiences. What this program does is it allows that connection between our community wellness officer, and we have two, one who works Monday through Friday during our day shift hours, and then we have a second person who works in the evening hours. So we have a good amount of coverage throughout the week. And so to have that consistency, somebody who's going through a mental health crisis, they already have an established rapport with these individuals. They understand what services have been provided and what services and other opportunities may be present. So.
Yeah, it seems, one of the questions I have, I think that's really important because there's a routine kind of regular contact with those, unfortunately, who are living out in, the elements. It seems like as the winter hit, many of those places, like the one on down on the main 72,
yeah,
became very visible.
Right.
And and I heard a lot, and I would drive by and see some people would pull up in their cars, put their car up on the embankment there, and bring food and things like that. And but then I also read some of the comments online from the individuals saying, just you should respect this like this is our home, and not necessarily walk right in.
Right.
And so I'm curious, like, how should people think about that? Because some people want to help and they want to do things, but I never really thought about it that way. It's like, so it's probably not a good thing to go just walk in there and
No, I wouldn't recommend that at all. What I would recommend is utilizing our, non-for-profit organizations and making donations, calling 211, seeing where your donations could be best served. Several years ago, we started an initiative because we had a combination of panhandling groups that would approach vehicles throughout the city. So we started a public outreach and education platform. You'll see a lot of retail shops or plazas have signs urging people to donate directly to organizations who are dedicated to doing that. While some people are truly needy and we're soliciting for their benefit to help them get by, it was brought to our attention that there are groups who were really doing this as a for-profit. They're going out in teams trying to solicit money and working as part of a ring of people. So if you donate to a local charity, you know where that money is going to go. It's accounted for, and it helps us get the right resources to the right people.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I will say, shopping and traveling throughout the city, going back a year or so ago, some of that behavior you're talking about was aggressive.
Right.
And I would often see those individuals being dropped off in a not so inexpensive car.
Right.
So it's exactly what you said. But I have noticed I hardly ever see it anymore. And so whatever you did, it's working. It's absolutely benefiting our city for sure.
Yeah, we appreciate that. It's always unfortunate when people are taking advantage of people who have goodwill and are trying to do the right things and sympathize for them. But it's exactly what you said. We recognize that those weren't necessarily the people who were benefiting from these donations. So.
Yeah, and I think the other what it really kind of exemplifies is that the awareness that you have of these issues, and not just saying, hey, well, it is what it is. You take action and actually try to address it in a positive way. So the idea of there's a bunch of community programs out there that help these individuals make the donation, as opposed to giving it to the donations of that individual, which is going to end up just bringing more and more of it. It's absolutely an incredible thing that you guys have done to fix it. So we have a lot of development downtown.
Yeah.
We have new really amazing apartments that are, now being occupied, and another bunch that's going up. How do you see, and it's all right in the heart of the city, and, we're going to have more restaurants and activity downtown. How do you think that's going to affect, the public safety downtown?
So that's interesting because our police department building is aged and is kind of on its last leg. So that brings up a broader question as to, does a police department stay downtown with the expansion of retail and different things? So we're currently in the real estate business right now, trying to find a spot for a new home for a police department. We're always will have a presence downtown, especially as it gets more and more populated and we have more and more guests. Bristol is a safe community, and it's a great place to work and do business and shop. And a lot of it, I have to give kudos to our people. They're out there, they're making the community safer. We have great partnerships with Bristol Health and our fire department, public safety, and our public works department. And it's on full display here with the development. Listen, I think the more retail we can get here, the more restaurants, it's just going to be a win-win for the community. So,
yeah, it's really a great community to move into. I having lived in the community now for 19 years, like I said earlier, I just feel I would walk to work, except for I'd have to come down that big hill. So, but it really is, and so. You had mentioned earlier about your step going through how it was hard to get in to be a police officer, and I've made references for some people and who struggled to do the same thing. We went through a pretty significant recruitment process. How are you doing with you have vacancies? Are you doing well at this point?
So we're doing well. We do have vacancies. So we have 3 vacancies currently. We are budgeted for 124 officers. We're at 121 right now, and I have a great team who came up with some really innovative ideas to help with recruitment. That includes having an ambassador program. So it's kind of unique for us, and I think for the area. My staff, my lieutenants and officers came up with this great idea where we recognized there was a deficit when it came to recruitment. the process to become a police officer can be lengthy. There's a lot of hoops that you got to jump through, for lack of a better word. You have the application process. There's a written test. You have to take a psychological exam. You have to pass a polygraph exam. You have to go through a background exam. So quite often, when a recruit or an applicant would apply, they would apply, and then all these things would start happening. But it would take weeks, if not months, and sometimes they wouldn't hear from the city or the police department because you're on a list, and you have to go through that list and go through these backgrounds. But what we decided was, hey, why don't we hook them up with an ambassador? So we have officers who will reach out right after the person takes the test, and we will connect with them and stay connected with them all the way through the process. We'll invite them to the police department. We'll invite them to tour the police department. We'll give them ride-alongs. We'll show them what Bristol PD is all about. I think we have one of the best police departments in the state of Connecticut and maybe beyond. And, we have a lot to offer, not just from a benefits and pay scale, but, we're just a great agency. And I think a lot of it has to do with the police reputation as well as the community, right? That community support is essential in making us successful. I think even during the height of the George Floyd protests, people still recognize that our police department, that, whatever other departments are doing or experiencing, that wasn't Bristol. That wasn't Bristol PD. And that support was everlasting for us.
Yeah. You clearly have a culture within your department, which is very community oriented, and you support each other. And it's amazing to watch the sense of pride that your team has in the work that they do. Driving around the city, you don't have people screaming and yelling at police officers, which I've seen in other areas, and it's a testament to who you are and the succession. I mean, a year now, and it's really amazing to watch. So
it's really neat because Bristol is that community where we're not so big that we can't have meaningful interactions with our citizens when they call for help. And we're not so slow that you have nothing to do as a police officer. So we have that perfect balance. That's what makes Bristol such an attractive police department for applicants. And, it's certainly something that attracted me to the police department here in Bristol. And I grew up in Middletown, which is very similar in size and demographic. And I'll tell you, it's just a great combination. And, we just finished up our most recent application process. And so once that list goes through, I'm hopeful that we will be at full staffing. The great news for us, not good news for somebody who wanted to be part of this team, but keep your eyes open because we're always hiring because, retirements happen and openings will happen. So, if you're interested or anyone's interested, we would encourage them to keep an eye on our social media page. We really encourage people to follow us on Facebook, on X, and you'll get those notifications when we have openings.
No, it's really great, and I really want to thank you for coming on this show, and maybe we'll have you back again when there's some other things going on, and we can talk about that. But again, thank you for all that you do because it's a wonderful place to live, and we're fortunate to have the team that you have taking care of and making our community safe. This is Bristol Health Cares, and you can write us at cares@bristolhospital.org if you have any questions or would like to hear somebody on the show in the future. Again, special thanks to Nutmeg TV. It is a nonprofit organization. It's an absolutely wonderful organization that absolutely deserves all of our support. So if you have the means and the wherewithal to contribute, it's easy to do. Go online and do that so we can continue to have these kind of programs for our community. And until the next time, have a wonderful, healthy day.